I'm Andrew at the Fairwood branch, and today I will show you how to make mermaid notebooks. This is a grab and go that's available at the Fairwood branch, and supplies are limited, so please come pick yours up today. For today's grab and go, you will receive one piece of teal cardstock that's folded in half and has 2 holes punched on both sides over here. 10 pieces of paper, also with 2 holes punched on each side. Some yarn, and a bunch of cardstock circles that are in 4 different teal colors that are also pre-punched for you. So the first thing we want to do is combine our teal cardstock and our paper, and the way that we want to do that is to line up the holes that are on both sides of the pages. So the easiest way to do that is to take your pages and get them lined up as easily as you can, and then just use your table or your lap or whatever's in front of you to just place the paper on top of your cardstock here. Then we will take the yarn and we will use the yarn and thread it through the hole at the top over here. It doesn't really matter which hole you consider the top, but thread it through the hole here. It can be a little difficult to push the yarn through on your own, so if you are having some difficulty, you can take something with an end on it, something like a pencil, or in this case I'm using the end of my paintbrush to push the yarn through the hole. So we're going to start on the inside here with our paper, and we're going to push our yarn through the top here. All right, after you do this part, I'm going to take the same end of yarn and push it through this second hole down here as well. All right, now once you've got your piece of yarn threaded all the way through here, we're going to do it a second time. And we want the thread to be pulled tight enough so that there's no slack. We don't want the notebook to fall apart, but we also don't want the yarn so tight that it pulls the pages together and bunch it up. So we want it to be flat, and we want it to actually hold our pieces together too. So just take our yarn and run it through the hole again. And then we're gonna pull it so that it's kind of taut. And if you don't have your yarn in the right place, since it's not tied, you can still feed some through by just pulling on one piece and then pulling through with the other piece, and then you can make it longer that way. And then we're just gonna feed it through again. Once you've pulled it through a couple of times, what we actually need is for our pieces of yarn to be on the outside here. So we're gonna take our thread and just kind of leave enough so that we can tie a bow in just a moment. And if you have a pair of scissors, you can just cut your excess yarn. And if we have to loop it one more time so that both of your pieces are on the outside. Now once you've got both pieces of yarn facing the same side, we're just going to give all the yarn a little tug. Remember, we want this to fit tight enough to hold the notebook, not so tight that we bunch up the pages. We're going to tie a double knot so that our notebook stays secure. So tie one knot and then tie another one so that it'll stay tight. And try to keep your yarn pulled as tightly as you can while you tie the knot, because it's going to loosen up a little bit while you're trying to tie it. All right, and you should have a knot on the outside here. It's very small, but we want it to be small. And then tie a bow. So that it looks like that on the outside. Once you've tied your bow, if these pieces are still too long, then you can go on ahead and trim these off so that it's shorter. Okay, so now that your notebook is secure, the next part that we're going to do is glue our circles on. Okay, once you've tied your notebook completely, You have a choice. You can either leave it completely open and lay it flat, or you can close your notebook and just work with the front. So we're adding these circles so that they will look like mermaid scales, and it will only go on the front side of your notebook. So I chose to work with it closed, but you can also leave it open if that makes you more comfortable. And I would suggest taking a moment just to separate your cardstock circles, because the colors look very similar and it's easy to get them mixed up. But if you pre-sort them a little bit, then it helps make it easier to keep track of. But if you don't want to sort them, you don't have to do that. So just take one circle, whatever color you want, and use your glue stick to glue the back of the circle. You want to get glue all the way around the circle so that everything lays completely flat. So you might get a little on your fingers. That's okay. We'll just wash our hands after. And just lay your first circle at the very top of your notebook in the top left-hand corner so that it looks like this. Press all around to help it lay completely flat. Then we're going to take our second circle, which will be a different color, and do the same thing. Use your glue stick, color your circle. And this time when we lay it, we're gonna lay it next to our very first circle here, but we want them to overlap just a little bit so that they create the effect of scales. So you just lay it evenly, but slightly next to the first one, like this, and you create the effect that looks like scales. So take a third circle and do the same thing. Cover the back with your glue stick. And take a fourth one, a fourth color, and do the same thing. Okay, so once you've completed four circles, sorry, and you've completed those in a row, then go back to your first color, which for me is the darkest teal, and complete that pattern again. Just add one at a time that way. Okay. So once you complete your first row, it took me 6 circles to do it. We're gonna start on our second row. So continuing on with the next color, which for me is the lightest teal, we're gonna place it below the first circle and the second circle, but just right here at the edge, in between the two, and you're also gonna overlap that one so that it covers up the bottom of those scales just a little bit. So we're gonna take our glue and cover the back of your circle. And then cover the ones just before it slightly like this. So you have this one circle that's further down and it's overlapping these top ones just a little bit. Then we're gonna take our first color, which again for me is the darkest teal, put some glue on the back. And overlap the first circle on your second row, sorry, and also the bottoms of the circles on your first row. So you have something that looks like this, where this darker one overlaps this lighter one here, but it also overlaps these at the bottom just a little bit. And we're just gonna continue this pattern until we get to the end of the row. Great. Once you're completely done with your notebook, you should have a cover that's completely covered in scales, and that is how you make a mermaid notebook. I hope you enjoyed today's grab and go, and I hope you visit us again soon. Bye.